Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to Chai with Vijay Jogia. Friends, the purpose of this show is to bring here for you professionals who can help us with any problems that you might have with regard to current affairs. And I'm really delighted today that I have a very good friend that I've known him for many years, many years, 25 years to be precise, is a very high profile entity, very high profile, especially within the Indian communities here in Australia, Fiji, and also New Zealand. And he's very much experienced in a lot of things, including commercial law, family law, and immigration as well. And he's got a good number of solicitors also working along with him in two branches, one in Liberty, one in Parramatta. Guys, you probably know who I'm talking about if you've been in Australia for a long time. He's none other than Mr. Harish Prasad. Mr. Harish Prasad, I've known him for almost 25 years. And through other reasons. And I'd like to now welcome formally Mr. Harish Prasad. Please, thank you very much for coming down to this show, Chai with Vijay. Um, how are you today?
I'm good, Vijay. Long time no speak.
I know. How is the lockdown treating you? How is the current scenario?
Oh, well, see, we spend most of the time in locked up rooms anyway, so it's not making a huge difference to me. Except we can't really see as many clients, and when they do come in, we make sure that they sit some distance away from us, so we
Yeah.
don't get in trouble.
Yes.
But otherwise, we're managing all right.
Yeah.
Better to be in the office than at home.
How are your visits to courts? Are they happening or are
Uh,
they online?
Now, it's amazing that out all of a sudden the courts have found a way of dealing with matters by telephone and video links. So just about everything at the moment happens that way.
So it's just like what you and I are doing now.
Exactly right. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really pleased because this is a good method of obviously getting in touch with people and avoiding all those things that we are supposed to be.
Yes, well, they spoke about this for a long time. I mean, Singapore, for example, has been doing video links and all that in courts for quite a long time. So I think this probably will remain even after the coronavirus thing blows over.
How long in your how long do you think this might last, in your opinion?
Oh, I've no idea. I think what we know is that every week uh, governments, both at federal and state level, are looking at this.
Hmm.
They realize that this is costing everyone a lot of money and hardship. And I think as weeks go on, they'll do an assessment and start relaxing things a little bit, unless something really bad happens, like there's a bigger spike in the numbers. That's the only reason why they will make it better. But I don't think that will happen in Australia now.
No, and we just heard today um, uh, that they want to open up America as soon as possible.
Yes, I found that surprising, but America is a major commercial country, so I can understand why Donald Trump is keen to reopen business. But they've got more problems than we have.
Yeah, definitely they do. Yeah. Let's move away slightly. Within this area, I have a scenario, and you can give us your suggestion, your recommendation, what can be done. Suppose somebody has paid a deposit or probably the full amount for hiring a reception hall, and he was going to get married in July, and unfortunately that will not happen now. So, what do you think will happen? Does the guy get his money back from the reception hall, or does he let it go? What are your views on that?
Well, it's funny. I've already been asked this question in the last 2 weeks, at least 3 or 4 times in different scenarios. And if you go to the government websites, ethic website, the fair trading websites, you find that even that is not all that helpful, because this is something that no one has prepared themselves for. In other words, no one knew something like this would happen. So when you look at the scenario, you have to try and work out how this coronavirus impacts on any contract that you signed. So first and foremost, as every government uh, uh, advising body will tell you, first and foremost, it depends on your contract. So you look at the contract and what it says about cancellations.
Mhm.
Now, all contracts have a clause which says that if by some unforeseen circumstance something cannot be done, then what the consequences will be. Sometimes people will say, you'll, apart from a booking fee, you'll get some of it back. Some contracts will say, well, look, too bad, you won't get any money back. So unfortunately, when people sign contracts, quite often they don't read the fine print. But that will firstly be the first thing you look at. Now, if you look at any contract, no contract talks about a virus or coronavirus or things like that.
Yeah.
So everyone's stumped on this. In fact, even legal professionals, experts in this area, are having difficulty working out, what do? You automatically get your money back. Now,
Mm.
can I say this to you? I've dealt with a situation where someone had paid most of the money for a wedding reception, which can't happen. In fact, the wedding was due next week. Now that person has asked for the money back from the reception center, and the reception center says, no, we won't give you the money back, but we'll give you a date in November. And in fact, we'll provide you a bit more of the service, so please don't ask for the money back. Now, that is unfair to the person, because you can't necessarily have a wedding in November. I mean, there are all sorts of reasons. As you know, we Indians go to astrologers and pundits and all that and look at Mahurat and things like that. So you can't just go in. And of course, we have people coming from overseas.
Mm.
So my advice to this client was that, look, you got to make a call here where you work out what's best for you without getting too aggressive, because what can happen in a lot of cases, and this will happen in fact, is small companies who are holding deposit monies
Mhm.
uh, are already struggling like every other business. And if they are having to pay back uh, everyone's money, then you'll find that these companies will become very shaky. In other words, people will start considering liquidating their companies and all that sort of thing. So most people who have put in money in those sorts of smaller companies uh, are in a dire straits. They're probably going to lose their money. So you got to do this softly, softly. Work out whether it is in your interest to defer it. If you really can't and you feel that you're entitled to the money, then you should be saying to them, look, no, it's just not possible for me to do it in November, and you're holding most of my money. You can't justify uh, any work that you've done for the money, so you're obliged to give it back to me. Now, you can make those demands personally. You can, I don't know how much fair trading is helping people, but you can put it to Department of Fair Trading, go through a lawyer. But as I keep saying, it all depends whether you're talking with a big company that is, financially very stable, or a smaller company that may find all this too difficult. No one wants to part with money at a time like this, because everyone's struggling. So it's
True.
not surprising that most of the uh, traders and businesses are unwilling to refund money at a time like this. So
Yeah,
that,
that's
in a nutshell, is where everyone stands.
yeah. I mean, my situation is that I do music and entertainment, and I have collected deposits across for the up to the end of the year, but I had no choice, but I had to refund all the deposits back to the customers.
Yes, well, look, I mean, you can't. There's an expression called in law unjust enrichment. In other words, you can't benefit with someone's money if you haven't provided the service. So people can't just take the money and say, "Oh, look, I'm not going to do this for you," but at the same time, I don't have to give it back, because that's a basic law that you can't benefit from unjustly enrich yourself. So you've done the right thing, especially if the booking was way ahead and you haven't had to spend any money in preparing for it. Then the right thing to do is to give it back.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about this other issue, other subject, domestic violence. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about that, and one of the things that came out from China was that after the quarantine period, when they were like together for like 6-8 weeks together, there were lots and lots of fights between husband and wife within the family, and the divorce rate also increased. Do you think we can have a effect somewhat similar to that here?
Oh, of course. I mean, it'll happen anywhere where you put together, put a couple of people together under the same roof, close to each other on a daily basis. It's bound to happen. You start irritating each other a lot more. I think that's why a lot of husband and wives prefer to work, away from each other and only meet each other in the evening. So it's bound to happen. I mean, I don't want to be flippant about it, but from what I've heard and read in Australia, it's also a major issue now. And of course, people are under more pressure at the moment too, because of financial constraints. Some people have lost their jobs. So all of those things add to more conflict within relationships.
And we heard that they're also turning more towards drinking now, that they've got nothing.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think they do.
Well, that's just moving on. What do you think are the other 2 or 3 major factors affecting people right now?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Sorry about that. What are the other top 2, 3 issues that are currently affecting the society because
Well, because
of the virus situation?
Well, I think the main one is business and employment. I mean, you can see the impact it's had because businesses have had to close down. The biggest problem we've got in today's society is the type of employment people have. More and more people these days are casuals and contractors. So these people are really struggling because they don't have entitlements to fall back on. And for that reason, the government's done a good job. I mean, the job keeper allowance and job seeker allowances and things like that do help a lot of people. But unfortunately, there are many, especially overseas students I know who work casually 20 hours a week. None of these students can depend on being paid if their business has closed down or their employment has been terminated. So it is a major issue. And of course, the businesses themselves, most of the bigger businesses pay huge rents, and governments told them to shut down altogether. I mean, some are able to do takeaways and things like that, but not all of them. So the fallout from all this is going to be huge. And the longer it goes on, we are looking at a kind of a major recession then.
Yeah, and you mentioned students. I'm really concerned and really worried about that because they have no income. They're stuck like lots of
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And the government is going to lose a lot of money because, as you know, student industry is one of the biggest industries in Australia now. I've read somewhere that it's going to have an impact of about $40 billion in Australia. That's a huge amount of money, international students.
Yeah, that's true. So what's happening? How do you spend your time?
Oh, you know how I spend my time. I work, and sometimes I get together with you and have a bit of music.
That's right.
That's the only way to keep yourself. Yes.
How is that coming these days? Now
No.
you've got a large volume of people that you can sing to on your media, on your Facebook.
Yes, but most of them don't like to hear me, but I still force them to listen to me.
All right. Okay, I wouldn't say that, but well, you should come down and we can have a bit of a sing.
Yes, We must have. We gotta get together. And I mean, a time like this, it's one of the best relaxations. I think a lot of people are doing it now, going for walks and getting singing. At the moment, you can only do it this way, but when things become a bit more relaxed, maybe getting together and doing it.
Yes. You are also connected to Fiji. How is the situation down there, as per your knowledge?
Oh well, Fiji is a small place, but it's all relative. They've got the 100 or maybe 200, close to between 100 and 200 people affected. Uh, Unfortunately, being a smaller country, their medical standards are not as high as Australia, so they are struggling. But I think they're doing a reasonable job with the isolation policies and all that. So I think it's kind of being managed in Fiji. And they've done the same thing. They've closed down businesses and all that, as we have in Australia, New Zealand, and other places.
Right. I know it's very tough for everyone, and we got to keep distance and not to go out and all those things, which is good. And I think the Australian population is pretty well behaved, isn't it?
Yes, I think the governments, both at federal and state government, state level, have been pleasantly surprised. I think that they were able to flatten the curve, they say, the way they did. In fact, they had great fears that it was going to blow up a lot more before it started to flatten out. So it seems that, things are going the right way. But unfortunately, until they find a vaccine or they can cure this problem, they can't take a chance. And that's why, we just got to wait. And I think my personal view is that this is going to be the same at least until June or so. That's what I think. I'm not an expert. I only tell you what I hear from other people. But
yeah, the couple of things that happened today is they are talking about opening the border between Australia and New Zealand. That's number one.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, and then they want to start flying some airlines in the capital cities and other small places like Dubbo and so on. What do you think?
Yes.
Isn't that going to
Well,
start?
within Australia, you have to do it. I mean, it'll have to happen sooner rather than later. I think the biggest problem for people like us who have people overseas, family and friends overseas, I think international travel is going to be banned for a long time. I think at least until 2021, from what I've heard.
Okay, Harish, it looks like we're having internet issues here.
Okay.
The photos are frozen. Anything you like to say to our viewers, our Facebook readers, users?
Well,
and the right.
I suppose while we're on the topic of coronavirus, I think just everyone hold tight. I suppose some people are down in the dumps. We're lucky that in our lifetime we haven't had hardship like this. So this is the first one to test us. I think we should all try and manage the best we can without getting too down about it.
All right, Mr. Harish Prasad, thank you so much.
Okay.
I hope to catch you as shortly, even like this, which is fine. And
yes,
thank you so much for your. I really appreciate. And I like to tell our viewers, our Facebook users, YouTube users, that if you have any questions, do email or send them to me, and I'll try and bring some experts again next week to come and discuss any issues that you have. Well, until then, Ari, thank you so much.
And, yes, thank you for having me.
And you're most welcome. And then we'll just take your leave, but just be sure. No handshakes, keep your distance, social distance, and otherwise. Have a
okay. Namaste.
Namaste.